and unmuted, should I say. Did I freeze then?
Yeah.
Sorry, and I just realized that also. Okay, so good morning and welcome. Women Warriors Network are delighted to host this very interesting and relevant event for PIP Health, Systematic Patient Engagement in Pharma, the launch of a portal. So how can pharmaceutical companies make sure that they engage with patients in a systematic way in order to make sure all is co-created with and for the patient? So founder and managing director of PIP Health, Nadine van Dongen, will talk us through the focus of this event being systematic patient engagement. For 13 years, Nadine van Dongen is working on ways to give patients a voice on healthcare. She founded the first international patient intelligence panel named PIP Health after a life-changing car crash. We would also like to welcome Anneleen Vindervogel. Anneleen will take us through the reality of patient engagement projects within Janssen, who is known to be a front runner in patient engagement. We will also hear from breast cancer survivor Sinead Scott-Lennon, who is a resilience and recovery coach. So I will start by introducing Nadine. So very welcome, Nadine. I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Sandy. Amazing to have this event, and I'm going to have a few slides prepared. So let me share my screen. Share. And I hope, Sandy, can you see the screen? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you, Sandy, for organizing this event with Women's Warrior Network. You are my inspiration, both business and personal life, as you are a real, true warrior. You are organizing events for businesses, and I'm really grateful that you set up this event in 4 weeks' time. And yeah, so thank you very much for that. So when I was preparing for these events, I took like a big piece of paper and I wanted to draft the flow of this talk. And in the middle of the paper, I wanted to write portal, as we're launching this patient intelligence portal in this event. However, something stopped me and I wrote improve patients' lives in a big circle and added a little heart because yeah, that's just the way I am. And I knew then that I had to connect this, that improve patients' lives is connected to this portal, but I couldn't draw it out so easily. So it wasn't that easy. And for it to become clear, I will take you on a little journey, and not a little journey, I'll take you in a journey through time. So I'm taking you 17 years back. So it started with a crash. I would kind of had the title of this. Some of you know the story already, and some don't. So I'll shortly tell you a little bit of my story. So imagine a Nadine, 17 years younger, and working at a pharma company in the Netherlands. So I'm driving from Tilburg to Amsterdam, and a car hits me on the motorway, and my car flips 3 times through the air, and an empty ambulance is driving by and is the first to notice me, and they save my quantity and also my quality of life by putting me immediately in a coma. And in my recovery, I had to learn to walk again, and I was struggling living with nerve pains. And thanks to my friends at the pharma company I worked in, I got information about new pain treatments out there. So that improved my life with that knowledge because I could get better treatment. But also I realized I was so lucky that I was so close to pharma, and being so close, that is valuable for me as a patient then. So that was a bit my light bulb moments. And that light bulb moment then turned into a concept thinking. So then I created the concept of patient intelligence, where I try to get people to become more patient intelligent. And through that concept, I developed the vehicle for that, and that's patient intelligence panel. So that's a panel where patients join, and they can then share their voice in patient projects. So in 2008, I started a company, PIP Health, or Patient Intelligence Panel in Health, and we started working on the patient engagement projects. So patients give their insights to PIP Health. We then give those insights in reports to pharmaceutical companies. They pay us, and we then donate money to charities and healthcare organizations with some insights, so that the charities can give better care, and the pharmaceutical companies can develop better treatments or health solutions, like patient support programs. So working in all these projects with patients for the last 13 years, it's very clear that we've got a common aim. So all the pharma companies have this common aim. So improve patients' life. Remember the bubble I drew in the beginning preparing this talk? So improve patients' life. So with an aim like that, so if all these pharma companies have an aim to improve patients' life, you would think that their IQs or their PIQs, patient intelligence quotients, are high all around. But then again, 13 years ago when I started this, it was really high at purpose-driven, purposeful, like passionate managers, but overall the PIQs were quite low. And I can now say that things have changed. So I've seen a big drive towards a more patient-driven pharma world, working with 35 clients now with PIP Health and over 180 projects. I've been seeing a big move towards more patient-centric pharma. So it's been a great ride, if I can say it like that, and where I can see clearly the satisfaction of patients working on these projects with us. So the patients who work, they feel that they are making a change, they're helping other patients like them. So everybody who's attending today or listening to this in the recording afterwards, have a little think. What do you think is missing in this wave of patient engagement activities that you see happening around you? So what is now missing? So it is happening, patient projects are happening, patient insight projects are happening, the patient is more central, but it often happens ad hoc. So it often happens ad hoc, and the processes sometimes are long and painful, and sometimes take just the passion and the excitement of projects, take it out of it. So maybe that's something you can relate to. So that then comes to the title of this talk, but also the topic is so the systematic patient engagement. So to kind of really make it systematic within an organization. So what do I mean with systematic patient engagement? So for me, it is acting according to an agreed, organized plan and a method to make sure all steps are easy to follow and to make life easier for patient engagement managers, or all the patient engagement managers out there, because it can be hard sometimes. Because in the projects I've done, I've seen two common denominators. So one that all happened in all 180 was the revelations of these pure patient insights. So big insights or small insights, and like emotional light bulbs. And it's been amazing to be part of this. So sometimes the whole team changed their way of thinking by listening to patients, or just one person that can do that. But how it works inside of an organization, I leave that to Annelien to talk about within Janssen as an example. But the second common denominator in these 180 projects is orderly disorder. And what do I mean with that? It means that, orderly disorder, it means things can be ordered. So you can order your bookcase beautifully in color-coded themes. So things are ordered. But if you really then need to know one person who you have to reach out to, or a book that you reach out to, you still don't really know where to go. Where is this book that you need? Because you don't know the color. So when I talk about systematic patient engagement, I'm more thinking about taking you back to a nursery or like a kindergarten, where they put the little books in baskets. So one basket has books for that age category, and another basket has books with all animals. So if you want to have a Peppa Pig book, you go to the year 2 animal section. So you have all these baskets, and in the baskets, you will have all the steps to take. So that brings me then to the introduction of the portal. So systematic patient engagement through the portal is working in a structured way on patients' projects according to a fixed system and process. So we want you to spend your time on listening to patients and building support solutions that you do to improve patients' lives. We don't want you to spend your energy on having to think about where you go next in your approval for a little part of the process, and you get stuck, you don't know where to go. That takes a lot of energy. So the portal helps you paint a clearer picture of all the steps you have to take to get meaningful insights. So this portal is just a software application, but it manages all of your patient engagement projects. So to make sure they're compliant, feasible, and effective. So how does it work? So the app, I made like a nice animation, but Sandy will send the animation afterwards in the summary. It's like a 1-minute explanation of the portal, but I will explain to you a little bit through 2 or 3 slides. So how does it work? So the app takes you step by step through the process of any patient engagement project. So it follows your organization's required steps. So from adverse event training requirements to completed reconciliation forms, all these steps will be spelled out, and you have to go through each of these steps every time you do your project. That means that it shows progression, so how far are you in a project, and also where are we stuck, or where can we maybe do things differently, or what do we need to do differently. So this is like an imaginary pharmaceutical company, and this is inside the app, or like the portal. So in this pharma company, there's 11 buckets. If you think back of the nursery or the kindergarten. So there's 11 buckets, and every bucket has their own little steps. So you've got, for example, from a proposal, the work order, the PO, the system, like whether you work in Zinc or PromoMats or any of those systems, then the training. And every time you move on, that it turns green, so you know, okay, next we are in specifications of the project, and what do we have to do for that, and is that done, we can go to the next. So you see your progress, and you also see, okay, we can't go on because we need approval for the training, for example, for the pharmacovigilance training. So a dashboard would look like this for a client. So this client has 2 projects. There are 2 incomplete projects, and they're working on, they still have 69 items to complete. So it sounds a lot, and it is a lot, but that's the reality of a patient project. A patient project isn't, we make it an objective and we do the field work. No, there's a lot of steps to take. And as long as you got it all signed and worked out, then you can get through it easier and with more passion. So yeah, to summarize, PIP Health has been working on patient engagement projects for over a decade. And what our idea is to make a change. So to make a change in patients' lives. But we have now the portal to make that change within a pharma company more feasible, compliant, and effective. So people can actually do the patient engagement projects. And then with the aim so that we all come together to improve patients' lives. So I think that's a bit my story. So I kind of hope I explained the systematic patient engagement, what we mean with it, and also how the portal can be the vehicle to do this. So shall I give it back to Sandy? The floor back to Sandy.
Yes.
Are there questions?
Nadine, thank you so much for that. I think it's incredible what you've achieved, and from your horrendous, horrific car crash, from the start up until what you've developed and the point you're at right now. And now you're moving on to give this portal, which is going to make it a lot easier for patients to be able to use. And I think a lot of us, this is why it's so relevant. We're all, unfortunately, patients at some time. And we're not always, especially us English people, we're not always upfront about when we want to speak and say, hey, something wrong with me, you know, can somebody help me? I don't know where to go. And I think even me at my big 50 years old is still in that position. So you've given us this portal to help us voice how we feel, and if we have any ailments, is going to benefit all of us. So thank you so much, Nadine. This is so interesting, and it's really good to hear. We're looking forward to now hearing Annaline. So I'd like to welcome Annaline. She's Patient Engagement and Advocacy Manager, BLUX, at the Janssen Pharmaceutical Company, based in Belgium, if I'm correct, Annaline. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you here today, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you, Sandy, and also thank you to Nadine for inviting me. I had no voice this morning, so I hope this will work. I have my water and my tea with me. But let me take you back in time. I think like 4.5, almost 5 years ago, where it all began for me with a new role. So on my 3rd day as a patient engagement and advocacy manager for Janssen, I had my first appointment with a patient organization. I was extremely motivated and really believed in my mission, and I was also convinced that we were already doing very well with Janssen in terms of patient centricity. So as a real warrior, my bag was filled with Janssen patient information materials. Oh, my slides doesn't work, I see, yes. So I had a bag full of information materials, brochures with very specific information about certain hematological subtypes, such as CLL, MCL, Waldenström disease. But then the president of the patient organization asked me, well, Annaline, do you know how many patients with blood cancer actually know their subtype? So apparently 90% did not know their subtype. So actually these materials in my bag were of little use and would never reach their goal. This first conversation was for me a real eye-opener. We were not doing such a good job as I thought. And did we really know the needs of the patients, or do we just think we do? So the next logical question was, what do patients need? And this was the start of a long and also very challenging process. So together with this patient organization, we worked for a year very intensively on a complete new patient carer information binder, not only on the hematological subtypes, but on blood cancer in general. We started with a blank page and made every decision together. And for me, that is co-creation, co-creating from end to end. So this co-creation brought together all the scattered information on blood cancer about aftercare, nutrition, psychological impact, and it was entirely based on the patient perspective. We listened to their needs. And for instance, one of the very interesting needs, and what we never could have imagined, was that they wanted it to look like a bit of like a holiday brochure of a travel agency. So something positive that they could just put on their kitchen table to have a look at once in a while. And preferably, no, I have cancer title on the outside of the binder, only a little title on the first page inside of the binder. So the binder Living with Lymphoma was born. And you can imagine that this was the beginning of a completely like new journey. And because after that experience, there were many more co-creations. We had one in depression. We also had one in psychosis. We had one in IBD, and also soon one in prostate cancer. And just as an insider, for the first time in Janssen Benelux, materials needed a reprint, another reprint, another reprint, because actually for the first time, they were a clear answer to a real need. And on top of that, the process, the long process itself, had added value. It was an enriching process that brought meaning for the patients and also for us. So in the meantime, we are many steps further, and our mission and vision is concrete and translated in like an action plan. And the plan is built on 3 pillars for patient engagement in the Janssen Benelux organization. The first pillar, that's the green one, is the pillar of patient inspiration. For instance, during the patient inspiration days, we connect patients and Janssen colleagues from all departments and give them inspiration by listening and interacting with patients in small and intimate groups. Can you imagine how different it is for a scientist to hear from a patient what impact a particular side effect has on his life on a daily basis compared to reading it as a figure in a scientific study? The second pillar is the Strategic Patient Advisory Board, the yellow one. It's a permanent quarterly strategic council in Belgium, and we also have one in the Netherlands, in which a team within Janssen submits a request for advice to a group of patient experts. A very recent concrete example was the question, how should we adapt our disease-specific communication strategy in times of Corona? And last but not least, and that's the biggest pillar, the patient co-creators. Here, one of our guiding principles is that everything we do for patients, we do it with them. This goes from collecting patient insights, setting up co-creation projects, or making patient materials more understandable. But in applying this last pillar in a very systematic way, we kind of noticed a number of challenges. It's a reality that some patient organizations in Belgium have a limited capacity. They are often driven by small groups of volunteers, and as they have a very unique expertise, everyone is calling on their expertise. Moreover, we needed a more differentiated patient pool. Patient experts are extremely relevant, but sometimes the perspective of a patient who just received a diagnosis, is not yet informed, does not know the specific language, is also very relevant. And I think I don't have to tell you that in an organization such as Janssen, we are often faced with tight timelines and a high administrative burden when working with patients and patient organizations. So to overcome these challenges, we came up with the following solutions. First of all, we ensured that all processes for working together with our own patient network were clear and standardized. And on the other hand, we increased the available patient pool by setting up a partnership with PIP Health. And we choose for PIP Health because of our shared mission, better care for patients. So if we as Janssen become more patient intelligent, we make decisions that are in line with what patients really need, we will invest in the right projects and create more value and less waste. So better care for patients. And I would love to share some key takeaways from this partnership. It's very critical to embed the concept of patient intelligence in the entire organization. All teams and different roles have a responsibility in this. It's not going to work if we consider it as something only for the patient engagement and advocacy team. Secondly, we have to be realistic that in order to make the switch from the ad hoc way of working to systematically embedding it in our daily work, it's necessary to adjust all your processes to this. We work as a pharma company in a highly regulated environment, so often what you see is just the tip of the iceberg, and beneath the water surface, there's often also here a complex process in place. It's important that all requirements are met, and I mean legal-wise, privacy-wise, compliance-wise, quality-wise, and that the cooperation between PIP and Janssen is standardized in terms of the process. It's a huge job and a big workload at the beginning of the process, but it's the only way to do it and to make the step from the ad hoc way of working to systematically embed this in your daily work. We have been working on this, and Nadine, for more than a year to set it all up, and it's not complete yet. Then the portal, as explained by Nadine, is crucial in guiding us through all these processes and ensures that all the conditions and agreements are always met for every single project. And on top of that, we always keep an overview of the many projects. We managed to realize 14 projects, and some of them are still ongoing, projects with PIP Health, I mean. And often it concerns a collection of patient insights or patient experience with regard to a specific theme or specific projects. But it can also be a patient advisory board or a review of patient materials, a review of patient services, for instance, reviewing a new app. And this way of working provides many insights. And sometimes what seemed to be like a very small detail, like for instance, a picture on a one-pager on a patient leaflet can have a big impact. And to give you one example, for one of our products, we had to switch from 4 tablets a day to 1 intake. So basically something very positive, you would think. This was explained in a one-pager, a patient leaflet that doctors could use to inform their patients. We asked patients with this specific disease to review this leaflet, this one-pager. And considering the fact that 1 instead of 4 tablets is something positive, we were convinced to receive positive feedback on the one-pager. But it appeared that after reading the one-pagers, that they were afraid of taking the switch, afraid that they would not be able to swallow the new tablet, although the tablet was not like larger in size, that was clearly indicated. But the picture of the new tablet was taken in a different light setting. So it gave the impression that the new tablet had a different, more granular coating. But in reality, the new one tablet had exactly the same coating as all the tablets before. So it was only the perception of the picture. Of course, we immediately went into action with this feedback. We used a different picture and put the text under the picture explaining this to avoid fear for the switch and to avoid maybe compliance issues. So for me, this was a striking example that a small thing can have a big impact on patients, and it's something that we cannot be aware of ourselves without consulting the patients. The collaboration with PIP is also extremely complementary to what we do from our own patient engagement team with our own external network. So the combination of both makes it extremely strong. For example, you can have a patient review done by PIP at the end of a project, but it's so much stronger to involve PIP even before a project starts. For example, by doing a patient survey so that it is clear what the patient needs are. You can then work with this throughout the entire project, both with PIP and in co-creation with our own network of patient organizations. So not just involve the patient voice at the end, but throughout the whole development life cycle of the project. And I would like to end with like a view on the future. Our goal is that by the end of 2021, all new patient information materials and services from Janssen Benelux are made with patients and not just for them, to have a greater impact on improving care and to meet the real needs of the patients. I see that the last 5 years, you see many companies evaluating in this direction. That's perfect. We want to take this even a step further by embedding it in the Janssen DNA for everyone and make this a part of the daily process. And are we there yet? No, we are not even close. but I think that we're making the right steps and that we're on the right path. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Annelien. That was the explanation was very, again, once very clear. And I think, you know, between PIP Health and Janssen, you know, you have this same mission to build this big patient engagement intelligence for us, which is going to benefit all of us. And I think I only ever had an understanding about this, and I think we've all been a patient at some stage in our lives, unless you're very, very fortunate. And I only ever learned and had an understanding was through Nadine with her business as she was building her business. And seeing the collaboration between Nadine and these, you know, these amazing big pharma companies, it's what's definitely going to push it forward for patients, for us in the future. And surely it's going to make the world a better and greater place with your help. So thank you. And, you know, even seeing the iceberg, I like seeing the visuals of, you know, your slideshows of both of what you've both been showing to give us as the patients an understanding. So thank you very much. That was wonderful. And I mean, here and now, we've just heard from 2 businesses working on patient engagement projects, but let's get a patient's perspective. So Sinead Scott Lennon is a breast cancer survivor, and she'll tell us more about her journey and her years ahead with ongoing treatment, with hopefully the support she needs and deserves. Welcome, Sinead.
Hi there, how are you doing? Can you hear me?
Very good.
Good. Hi, everybody. And a bit like Annelien, my voice is slightly gone, so I'm equipped with lots of tea and stuff. So listen, I just wanted to ask you, Sandy, would there be any chance you could just share my PowerPoint? Do you have it there? It's not essential to what I have to say, but I've just tried to share it and I'm having no joy. It's a new enough laptop and I don't know.
Let me just have a look.
Yeah, take your time, don't worry. But if you can, great. If not, it's not vital.
Was it? Not for the minute, sorry, bear with me. Is it on the?
It's I sent it on an email.
Yes.
Nadine is waving at us.
I'm just trying to unmute.
Yeah, I can share it if you want.
Thanks, Nadine. Sorry, guys. I don't know why it's not working, but hey, no. Such is modern technology, right?
Okay, it's coming up in a second. So
super.
I'm just sharing it now.
Listen, there always has to be at least one technical hitch. You know, we're only human.
Absolutely.
Just let me know when you're ready to go to the next slide, okay, Sinead?
Yeah, cool. Okay, that's all good. Thank you so much. So thanks a million for that. That's great. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for inviting me, Nadine and Sandy, and lovely to meet you, Annelien, and to hear about all the work you're doing. And Nadine, my God, what a brilliant initiative and the work you've done. I've heard about you through Sandy and obviously had the privilege of chatting to you. So this is amazing and it's great to be here. So yeah, if you want to just click on to the next slide. So who am I and why am I here today? Well, I'm a friend of Sandy's and she introduced me to lovely Nadine, and we had a chat about why or how I could help here today and to give a patient's perspective. I'm also a resilience and recovery coach. I'm a coach through my own health battles as well as some life things that came along my way, and I retrained as a transformational coach. And so I have the privilege of coaching people both in the corporate space and individuals, but also in the cancer world and some people who have ill health, because I have a deep understanding of how it feels to have to function and move forward despite having something that comes along to challenge us in a health perspective. I'm also a wellbeing consultant. I go into companies and I take the temperature of the wellbeing within companies, and do that within the culture of a company, and try to change things for the better. So, but for the purposes today, I'm a breast cancer survivor. I'm very, very happy to be able to say that I am a survivor of this disease, but there's, I can't play it down. It was a really, really tough couple of years challenging it. So Nadine, if you want to go on to the next slide. So today, I'll be covering my story, but from a human perspective. I'll then go on to give a little bit of an explanation as to the treatments I've had and my ongoing treatments. I'll just give a little bit of insight into the support I got on my journey, where I felt there was a bit of a shortfall in support, and some suggested solutions from my point of view. And just to emphasize that I can only speak from my point of view, and this is not at all to kind of wag the finger at anybody. You know, in general, I had a great experience, but having shone a spotlight on where the support was and where maybe it could have been better, I just have some thoughts and suggestions. So maybe the next slide, my story. So let me bring you back to May 2019. I had just started a job role, the biggest kind of job role in my career in communications. And I was 3 weeks into that job, and I got diagnosed with invasive breast cancer that had spread to my lymph nodes. And my world absolutely collapsed. I was absolutely floored by this diagnosis. I was on a kind of upward trajectory when it came to my life and my career. I had gone through years and years of fertility treatment to have my little girl Bo, and we had finally come out of that. It felt like we were just being set back a lot, and finally come out of that. And the next thing, this came along, and it was a huge shock. So I was diagnosed in May 2019, and I was going under the knife for my breast surgery by June 2019. On the day of my breast surgery, I had to, because of my age and my cancer was hormone related, I had to do a routine pregnancy test. And sadly, they discovered that I was actually 3.5 months pregnant. Sorry, not sadly, it was a good thing. But terrifying. It was literally the day of my surgery. I went in and had my operation, and but knowing that I'd had to have a long conversation with the anaesthetist and the surgery team, that the baby may not survive the anaesthetist, and sadly we lost the baby 4 days afterwards. I was in full swing, getting better, surviving this disease. So I had no time really to process that information, and I was straight into 8 rounds of chemotherapy, and losing my hair, all of the things that come with that, and then I think close to 30 or 32 rounds of radiotherapy after that. And so, you know, that is kind of the human side of my journey. I had to give up my job, pray that they stayed, you know, they wanted me back, and they did support me through that journey. There was a financial upheaval. There was trying to be a mum for my little girl during that journey, etc., and just scrabbling around for support and help anywhere I could get it, and a lot of it had to be found by me. After the radiotherapy, and a few months later, I decided it was time to go back into a work environment, and I did that, and then the pandemic hit. So on the human side, it's just been a really, really tough series of events, one after the other, and the pandemic has been difficult for everybody. Sorry, Nadine, next slide is good, if you don't mind. So yeah, as I was saying, like, life doesn't stop. Treatments had to, you know, I had to go through all the treatments. I mentioned I had a wide local excision to the left breast and sentinel node lymph node removal because the cancer had started to spread. As a result of that spreading, I had to go through chemotherapy. So I had ECP chemotherapy. I had 8 or 9 rounds of that. And then I had radiotherapy to the left breast and axilla. So also it's worth kind of mentioning here that after all of that, that brought me up to kind of January 2020. I then discovered that I would have to be on tamoxifen for the next 10 years of my life because of my age. Again, my cancer was hormone related, and it is just about suppressing hormones in case any of that cancer had kind of spread throughout my body. And I'm also on a monthly injection called Zoladex, which is ovarian suppressant. So that's just kind of running through my treatments. If you want to go to the next slide, it'd be great. So if we're to talk here about kind of support on my journey, I'm here in the UK, and I have to say that the NHS were generally brilliant about my treatments and everything, and they provided me with links to kind of counselling service, as well as connections to like Macmillan cancer support for areas like nutrition, finances, work, what does life look like, etc. But something that really resonated with me, Annalene, and I just wanted to bring this up that you said, was the holiday brochure type style kind of leaflet that patients had requested. I think it was for blood cancer you mentioned. That absolutely resonates with me, because when I was given links to counselling, I had to make the journey back into the hospital where I had lost the baby, had my breast surgery, and meet up with a counsellor within that environment. I didn't want to go into that sterile environment. I didn't want to go back in there and have all those memories and sit down in a counselling sterile environment and do counselling with somebody who really didn't fully understand the magnitude of the grief that I was going through. So I chose, as much as I was grateful for that being provided to me, I chose to actually find a private psychologist who had more of a deep knowledge of grief, and the grief that comes with not only a breast cancer diagnosis, losing a baby, but also the changes that this has made to my life, forcing me into premature menopause, knowing that my journey to ever have children again was gone. The layers of grief were so deep that a lovely counsellor over in the hospital, as great as she was, she didn't have that skill. So I had to go elsewhere for that. I navigated a lot of the support on my own, I have to say, and the support that I found was finding other people who had gone through a similar thing to me. So not only my cancer, but the miscarriage in tandem with. So I found support groups and charities that dealt with this stuff, but more that I wanted to help others going through it, and that was my way of helping myself. It wasn't entirely selfless. It was because I found that helping others helped me.
Yes,
so
Sinead, you told me yesterday I could always.
Yes, please do. Yeah.
Because what we talked about yesterday as well, like what you said, your support and your journey. So would you say there's been from the treatment sides?
Sorry,
support, because you call Macmillan and you call, like other NHS services that were provided to you. Was there other services provided to you for support from pharmaceutical, from treatment related?
No. So I think that's something that's really interesting, Nadine, and I may as well address this now, that I am on some really difficult medication. Obviously chemotherapy is difficult. If anyone's been on it, you know it's difficult. Radiotherapy, feels easier, but it's still not great, and they have long-term side effects. Okay, and tamoxifen and the combination of tamoxifen and Zoladex. I can't even begin to describe what those side effects are like, but they are a daily challenge. Okay, I'm delighted to be here. I'm fully grateful, but I have no contact with, I have no idea who the pharma companies are behind those medications. I have had to, after I finished radiotherapy, it's almost like you fall off a cliff, right? It's like, well done, you've got through chemo, you've got through radiotherapy, start taking your daily meds and come in every month for this nasty injection, and off you go and live your life. But I've had to put my hand up and really, really push for information as to how to cope with these drugs, how to cope with the side effects of tamoxifen and Zoladex. And I'm still doing it. I don't know what, I'm a year and a half out of treatment now, but I'm still making phone calls on a weekly basis saying, okay, this is happening now, how do I deal with it? And I haven't had any contact with or from or information from any of the pharma companies behind my medications. I'm forced into premature menopause. Most women who go through menopause have access to HRT, which can help with side effects. And it's still difficult even with HRT. Cancer survivors like me are not allowed to take HRT. So I'm navigating a really severe chemically induced menopause without any HRT or anything. All I'm being told I'm allowed to do is acupuncture, which I'm in the middle of doing, and I haven't yet felt any results. So to answer, I hope that answers your question, Nadine. I haven't had any contact with or from any of the pharma companies, and even the healthcare providers, who are so stretched and amazing at what they do, scrabble for time to give to each of us patients. And I suppose that should naturally kind of lead me on to, where are we now? Where the shortfall in support is really, there isn't enough support post initial treatments, and even during those treatments, information about what the drugs you're on would be empowering for patients. There shouldn't be a cookie cutter approach. Each person, I've just demonstrated, I think, that I had a different experience to other people. I'm sure other people have been through exactly what I've been through, but not everybody is going to discover breast cancer whilst pregnant, whilst experience miscarriage, whilst being forced into premature menopause. That's quite a niche thing going on. And what would be helpful would be to have a tailored approach to patients, a personal approach to patients' situations and circumstances, so that the support can be provided both on treatments and on holistically for the person as a whole. So I suppose just to kind of move on quickly to what are the solutions in my view. I suppose a robust side effect management system in place for patients who are left to deal with long-term side effects from drugs like Zoladex, like tamoxifen. But this doesn't have to be just about breast cancer or cancer, it can be across the board. Research into what can be done to help with quality of life on these medications, but that coming from the pharma companies would be really, really helpful directly to patients. Information and support provided proactively. I think that's a really important word for me today, is proactively, because every week I have a list of 10 different calls to make to different medics because of the difficulties that I have, and to say, look, oh, this is still happening. What do I do now? What can I do? And whilst trying not to let this define my life, Annalene, coming back to you, again, to say that the holiday brochure thing really resonated again, because I didn't want breast cancer and I don't want it to define me. I didn't want it to define me then. I didn't want to see cancer all over my leaflets. I didn't want to walk into a hospital for my support. I wanted to just get on with my life and live with this and just get through it and see it as another project I had to get through. So yeah, it's about being proactive and treating patients as people who are not just defined by their illness. They're living and they're thriving still. They just need the support there. And I think finally, just to say, to take a holistic and personal approach to each and every patient would be amazing. So yeah,
thank you, Sinead, thank you so much. Do you know, you are amazing, you are incredible, and I know your journey through you telling me personally, which I just cry all the time, so what use am I? But mentally you are such a strong, inspirational woman, and so just to hear you speaking and sharing your story with us is really valuable and inspirational. And I think you, as a resilience and recovery coach, you've just taken something, created something amazing and positive from this. So
thank you.
It's appreciated by, it's appreciated by us. And I think moving forward, you know, Sinead and I are hoping to do some work together, some health retreats, and you know, because Sinead will be just an incredible asset. But Sinead, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks a million.
Thank you. Sorry, guys, I've got a couple of questions, which, you know, we'll just try and rush through a couple of them. But Annalene, again, the holiday brochure. We all want that holiday brochure with pretty, lovely, inspirational pictures on the front of them. But about how do you systematically review the brochures? Do all the brochures get reviewed by patients, for example?
Yes, so we have like two systems, or we co-created with the patient from scratch, from really a blank page throughout the whole process. Or there are still teams within Janssen who create brochures themselves. And at least I want them to have be reviewed by patients, because then you get valuable input and you can still change the brochures. But that's how do I say that? Well, I rather co-create it from scratch than only review it at the end. So, and I also saw a question from Muriel, I think, and I know Muriel, of course, and I think it's a good suggestion, because many patient associations, they don't want to have a brochure that it's made by one pharmaceutical company, but we rather would work together, because we have one goal there. And there you have again the iceberg, because we all have our processes, we all have our systems, and it's basically all the same but in a different way. And maybe I think PIP Health could play a role there to bring those pharmaceutical companies together with the patients and co-create from scratch with all those different parties. So I think that, that's a very good idea from Muriel. I didn't think about this before, as PIP being a possible partner to do this. But then again, Nadine, an iceberg is coming your way, I think.
I'll be the Titanic. No, not the Titanic. No, because that's a link to the question of Bart as well, I see here, where he says, like, is the patient group of Janssen the group part of the patient foundation or patient organization, or a different group? And so the patient group of Janssen, Annalene, if I'm all right, it's a mix, isn't it? So sometimes you use patients through patient organizations, and sometimes through PIP. And PIP we have our own database. So we've got around 25,000 patients who are a member across 7 countries in Europe of PIP Health, who participate in research and solely for that. So we're not a patient organization, we're not a patient association, we're a patient research company, where we have a movement where patients sign terms and conditions to be part of all these projects. So yeah, it's a mix of not just patient organization patients, because sometimes they can be more involved, more experts, but some, yeah, we try to recruit a broad scheme of patients, where patients sometimes would normally not be part of a patient organization. I had an interview last week with a patient with lung cancer who absolutely didn't want to be part of a patient organization because it made her anxious to hear all the stories of other patients. So even though people think, oh, we need to get patients together, some people don't want to be part of it, but still need to be heard. Because what does she want in support? You know, she doesn't want to hear from other patients, but she only wants to hear maybe from a different way from people.
I think you've both used, Nadine and Annalene, with both, you know, your work and your projects. The word as came up on several occasions. I think it's quite key, is co-create. So as Annalene, you said in the brochure, it's not just you, Janssen, saying Janssen, because we could all say, well, hold on, we didn't know that. We want to have an input in it. And then I think with Nadine's participation and what she's doing, it's given that other perspective on it, which is given the trust in us as patients then, that we believe. It's like, oh, okay, we believe in what you are creating for us. So yes, thank you. One last question. I'm conscious of time. I always like to stay within the power hours to keep it powerful and engaging. Nadine, though, one last thing though, who is the portal for and who can use it?
Yeah, so the portal, we envision three kind of types of people or organizations to use it. So first, it's for pharmaceutical companies directly. So where pharmaceutical companies with PIP Health set up the portal with all the steps in mind. Or it could be a health communication agency who work for pharmaceutical companies, where the health communication agency, they kind of get admin side of the portal, and then they can engage with their clients, so they can use the portal for use with their clients. Or it could be health consultancy agencies who work for pharma companies. So yeah, we can all work with pharma companies directly, or the portal can be used as a white label or something you call that, with other people who work with pharmaceutical companies. So yeah, anyone who ever thought to themselves, oh, it's so painful, these patient insight projects, come to me and we can have a chat about that.
You'll Thanks. Get us through there, Nadine. You will get us through there. Thank you. Guys, on that note, I would like to thank to our amazing speakers, to Annalene, Nadine, obviously of PIP Health, and Sinead as a resilience recovery coach, but also a breast cancer survivor being the key word. You are all absolute true women warriors. And if anybody would like to contact the speakers direct, you'll have all that information. I'd also like just to say that we do have the recording will be sent out in the next few days with the highlights, and then the full version also. So just in case you've missed it or you'd like to share it with anybody, please feel free to do so.
And then
also including the links. Yes.
I'm going to interrupt because I'm also going to do a plug for your company, because Sandy, with the Women's Warrior Network, you organize events for businesses to kind of set up events like this, and you've done amazingly. So well done. I'll send you a great review for this event for organizing it. Thank you.
We support each other, and I think this is how we do move forward, is that we always do support each other. Thank you so much, Nadine. And Women's Warriors Network is a platform just to highlight your business and target your audience directly. So if anybody would like to join, just contact me directly. That is a little plug, isn't it? But again, thank you so much for joining today, guys. And as I said, please you can contact the speakers direct. There were a few more questions, so please do contact these amazing women directly. And wishing you all an amazing day, and we will we'll do this again in a few months just to highlight and see how the portal is getting on, and we can all review together. So thank you so much, everybody.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.